else because you slandered them.
Allstate, I'm sorry.
It was Allstate?
Yeah, it took me a while.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, the only thing I can say is that should not have happened.
Yeah, we're gonna change it. We're looking, but.
Okay. All right. So here we go. Liability policies are also contracts of indemnity. They pay the actual loss to somebody you injured to make them whole. What about life insurance policies? Right? Are life insurance policies contracts of indemnity? No. Because you really can't value a life. You know what I mean? Like suppose you have a life policy and it's the amount of $100,000, right? And the guy dies. Here's what I'm saying. I know what you're saying, Kevin, but look at it this way. $100,000, the guy dies. And say the guy drank himself to death, right? Now the adjuster comes in and says, well, hell, he isn't worth $100,000, right? We're not giving you $100 grand for that, right? They can't do that. A life insurance policy is a valued policy. See, it's not a policy of indemnity. They don't, obviously not making anybody whole. Once somebody dies, that's it, right? But what they're doing is they agree with you in advance on what the value of the policy is going to be. If you die, that's what your beneficiary gets. But that's not a contract of indemnity, because no one knows what a life's really worth, right? So life insurance is an exception to the principle of indemnity, okay? All right. Okay, so let that sink in now, and we'll go to our next concept, which is the principle of insurable interest. Very closely related to this. And this is another important concept. Okay? The principle of insurable interest says a person cannot buy insurance on an asset for another person's life unless the buyer is going to suffer a financial loss in the event of damage to that asset or death to that person. Okay, so I'll write this down. Okay? A person cannot buy insurance on an asset. Let's just stay with that for now. Unless the person will suffer a loss in the event of damage to that asset. Okay? A person can only buy insurance on something. They're going to suffer a loss to their balance sheet if there's damage to that asset. Okay? So, what's an example? Anything you own, really. I have a car. Can I buy insurance on that car? Sure I can. Because if somebody smashes into that car, I suffer a loss. I have to go out and buy another car, right? So, insurable interest is you have to be able to show you're going to have a loss to your balance sheet if there's a loss to that asset.
Is that like when celebrities like insure their legs for like $1 million?
Yeah, it can be. It can be very much so, because a Hollywood actress or an actor, some singer wants to insure his voice. It's an income producer for them, right? Whatever they're talking about is an income producer. So they have an insurable interest in that part.
I'm sure what's his name? Earl Jones, the really famous, the guy who voiced Darth Vader.
Darth Vader, yeah, that's right, James Earl Jones.
James Earl Jones, yeah. I'm sure he has his voice insured.
I think you're probably right.
I think college athletes now, because of the risk that they may not make it
To the pros?
to a contract, they're getting like their knees or something like
Yeah.
that insured, like the quarterbacks.
Yeah, that's definitely a quarterback with his
It's
arm.
like the new thing, protecting themselves.
Mhm.
I think this is for really avoiding problems though, because people can't buy like life insurance on somebody else unless they are like a relative or like you said, they're gonna sustain
That's
a
right.
loss, because then it'd be like, what, are you gonna try to kill that person
That's
now?
right.
get $2 million or whatever?
Well, that's actually how it started. Insurable interest, the concept started because there was a nobleman in England back in the, I don't know, the 16 or 1700s, and they had homeless even then, and he would befriend them, find out their names and all that stuff, buy insurance on them, and then kill them. So the insurance companies soon figured out what he was doing, and he ended up hanging. But they said to themselves, you know what? That's a loophole. We got to cover that. And this is how they've covered it. So an insurable interest in life insurance, you can only buy life insurance on somebody else on someone else if you'll suffer a loss if they die. Now that can be an emotional loss. So for example, I can buy insurance on my wife's life, right? I'll suffer a huge loss if she dies, right? When she was working, you could say it was an economic loss. I was going to lose her salary, right? But when she was a stay-at-home mom, I'd still have a huge loss, right? I'd have an emotional loss. I'd have a loss of someone raising the children, right? So life insurance requires you, if you're going to buy life insurance in somebody else's life, you have to be able to show that it's a relative or it's somebody you have an economic interest in.
Do they
Say-
have to
say a
know?
business partner.
Do they have to know? Like,
You know what? It's an interesting question.
I would see, that seems creepy if you would, like, if I could just go buy life insurance for my husband, like, we have it, but like, if I go buy like a secret one, you know? But no, like,
Walmart did it to employees and they didn't know about it. They're like,
oh, no, but then they charged them for it, right? Didn't they?
no,
Out of
they
their
didn't
check?
charge it. They got paid on it, and the family found out somehow
Oh
that
my God.
they made like $2 million. Like Walmart made $2 million from like a simple employee who not like in stock.
It's weird.
That is weird.
Yeah, it's like, right, yeah.
Okay.
So is that like a loophole, like Walmart doing policies like that? Because,
Now, Walmart's argument there would be personnel risk, right?
yeah, but the person was not the key person, so it's
No,
not.
I'd have to know more facts. Because a lot of, what I thought you were going to say is, a lot of retailers, if they're, somebody's buying on credit, right? And somebody has bought a couple $1,000s worth of goods, like furniture stores, I don't know how to do it. No payment necessary the first 24 months. How the hell do they do that? But anyway, they sell furniture to somebody, and then that person now owes them, say, $5,000. But they're not going to start paying for 2 years. That's a pretty big credit risk, right? If that person dies, right, they take a hit. They take a $5,000 hit. So they're allowed to buy insurance on customers. Retailers do it. That person dies, the insurance company pays off the loan. So that sort of ties into what you were saying. Most customers don't know that that's happening. Okay? But insurable interest is an important concept. So I want you to understand now the whole concept. So tonight, if I said to Eric, I know you're in the mood for a car, looking for a car, I'll sell you my car. I give him the title to my car. He gives me $5,000, right? Eric pulls out tonight. He drives on to 309. Boom! He's hit by a truck, right? Car is absolutely totaled. And Eric is in a coma. You're not dead, buddy. You're just in a coma for a while. So meanwhile, I've got the insurance policy covering that car. It was my car. Now, can I call up the insurance company tomorrow and say, hey, my car was totaled, I'm going to put in a claim?
Well, you could, but you should stay honest, right? Because you would,
That's
if
right.
you were to come out of the coma, you would be, right, liable, like you would have.
Well, then suppose Eric doesn't make it. Then I can do it?
You got away with fraud.
If you got the title back.
No, if they found the title, you would be in trouble.
That's right. They would see that I had signed it over to Eric. What were you going to say?
It's not affecting your balance sheet, you don't win or lose.
That's right. I don't have a loss. So I don't have a loss. I've got the $5,000 in cash that Eric gave me for the car. So I don't have any insurable interest in that car anymore. I happen to have the policy, but just as Yanya says, I'd have to commit fraud to put in that claim, right? So, so that would never be a good thing. So that's an example of how insurable interest can transfer, right? He has an insurable interest in the car. Once he gets the title to the car and he drives out, I no longer have an insurable interest, okay? You can have insurable